So, giant insects overtaking cities has long served as the inspiration for many horror films. If you're looking for a good scare, then you can turn off all the lights and rent Them, Eight-Legged Freaks, or Mosquito. These movies are enough to make you wary of the tiny bugs you see every so often around your house. But what would happen if giant bugs suddenly popped up around the globe? It's not outside the realm of possibility. You've likely seen fossils of giant insects in museums, and they're enough to run a shiver down anyone's spine. Consider the Meganeuropsis permiana, a giant dragonfly that lived approximately 298 million years ago. It was the largest bug to ever roam the skies, with a wingspan of 28 inches. And if you measured it from head to tail, it'd be 17 inches. Thank goodness we no longer see these guys in our backyards. And that's not even getting into all of the giant cockroaches, millipedes, and yes, even spiders that used to roam the earth. Fortunately, all of these giant bugs no longer exist. But what if they didn't die out? Or worse yet, what if all the bugs we know today suddenly grew to the size of humans? If you thought a cricket jumping into your house was bad enough, just imagine if it was the size of a small car. In today's video, we'll dive into what would happen if bugs grew to the size of humans. And spoiler alert, the answer isn't pretty. But before this video gets started, make sure to subscribe if you haven't already to never miss an upload, and also leave a like down below if you enjoy this video at any point. So, in a nutshell, if bugs grew to the size of humans, we would be dealing with an extinction level event. Let's look at ants alone. While no one is sure exactly how many ants exist, some estimates put the number close to 1,000 trillion. If you consider ants having an average weight of roughly 4 milligrams, then the combined mass of all ants on the planet would equal 40 billion kilograms. If all of them suddenly grew to the size of humans, then their total mass would equal 70 quadrillion kilograms. All at once, you would have a massive amount of weight added to the Earth's surface. But what about surface area? Well, you could fit the entire human population in a cube, with each side being a little over a kilometer in length. Now, if you took every human-sized ant and stood them shoulder to shoulder, or thorax to thorax, they would take up 173,142,857 square miles. Keep in mind, the Earth only has about 196 million square miles, including all of the oceans. That means that you would have a lot of ants competing for a limited amount of space, with a lot of them ending up in the ocean and drowning immediately. Aside from that, you would now have unbelievable swarms of ants invading every town, city, and country on Earth. The only place you will not find them is Antarctica. So if the human race were to have any chance of survival, everyone would need to hightail it to either the Arctic or Antarctic. Sure, we would be able to fight them for a while, but considering how much space they take up, the giant ants would decimate entire cities and kill billions of people in the process. And we've only considered ants so far in this scenario. It is believed that there are over 42,000 species of bugs around the world, with potentially thousands of others we have not yet discovered. All of a sudden, you have giant bees, praying mantises, wasps, scorpions, and all kinds of other pests walking through cities. They would attack each other for sure, but us humans wouldn't stand a chance. Plenty of people would be killed by accident through trampling or stinging. It would be an apocalyptic scenario like no other. We suppose this one comes down to personal preference. It's estimated that there is anywhere from between 32 to 211 bugs in a house at any given moment. The scariest giant bugs would likely be the ones that grew in size nearest you, and that includes spiders. Spiders often make their way into homes due to dropping temperatures outside, so you could have dozens living in the crawl space right now. There are also plenty of carnivorous insects out there, like the praying mantis. They don't currently pose a threat, and plenty of people even keep them as pets. Right now, they eat flies and small beetles, but once they're giants, they would have no problem taking down humans. Here is some good news for you. In the event that bugs actually grew to the size of humans, they would not survive long. There's a reason you don't see giant bugs today, and it's due to the fact that they cannot survive at such a size. This is all thanks to the square cube law, which states that whenever an object goes through a proportional increase in size, the new surface area must be proportional to the square of the multiplier, and the new volume must be proportional to the cube of the multiplier. That was a lot of mumbo-jumbo to say that giant bugs would be unable to survive under their own weight, and a lot may die almost immediately. Another piece of good news is that giant bugs' respiratory systems would not be able to supply enough oxygen to the entire body. If bugs ever grew in size, they would only live for a few more minutes before collapsing immediately. While that does sound like some good news, keep in mind that we would then have to tend to quintillions of human-sized bug corpses littering the planet. The bodies would overtake the surface area of the planet. Due to the thickness of the layer of the bugs, the heat among the bugs would increase to over 70 degrees Celsius, which would halt the formation of bacteria necessary to decompose the insects. As anyone who has a compost pile will tell you, you have to monitor the internal temperature and moisture content carefully, or you could end up with combustion. There is no way every pile of dead bugs could be monitored with such efficiency, so hydrocarbons that make their way into the upper layers would be more than enough to result in rampant fires. The smoke and ash would definitely be sufficient enough to block out sunlight, and the planet would experience a period of global cooling. No matter which way you slice it, humans would die out sooner or later with giant bugs all over the place. It certainly seems like humanity dodged a bullet. Giant bugs were here millions of years ago, but fortunately they all died out to give way to the small insects we know today. There are two primary reasons why this is the case. The first is that the atmosphere on Earth has changed significantly over millennia. During the Permian and Carboniferous periods, where giant bugs thrived, Earth's air contained between 31 and 35% oxygen. Today, that number is just at 21%. Since insects do not have lungs, they rely on a series of spiracles around their bodies that connect directly to the tissues that rely on oxygen. With less oxygen, giant bugs simply can't survive. There is one more thing to thank for a lack of giant bugs, and that is birds. The earliest bird, known as Archaeopteryx, appeared roughly 150 million years ago. Birds proved to be much faster than giant insects, which made for delicious meals for the new creatures. In fact, this likely gave rise to the tiny bugs we know today. Giant bugs were easy targets for new birds. Smaller insects could hide more easily, so those traits were passed down over millions of years through evolution. Unless some supervillain comes up with a weapon that could make every single insect on Earth the size of people, you have nothing to worry about. Insects could never survive at that size, and chances are good the planet will never see large bugs ever again. Unless, of course, the oxygen content in the atmosphere goes back up to where it was in the Permian period. You can rest easy knowing giant bugs aren't a real thing. Unless you live in Australia, of course, in which case, we really don't know how to help you. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more like it, then make sure to leave some future video suggestions in the comments down below. Our favorites will be pinned at the top and featured in that video. With that said, thanks for watching, and we will catch you all in the next one.